Hey everyone. Happy Monday. I can't believe it's Monday. I'll be moving in 6 days to Washington State, and I've left you a little bit of information about that in my written announcement. And I anticipate that next Monday will not run like most Mondays when I teach at SNHU. I really like to get the week wrapped up in as good of a bow as possible. And I don't think the bow is going to be as tightly wrapped, tight as taut next week. But I will be available online. I will have internet access. I just won't be as Johnny on the spot for a couple days. But then I'll be moved in, and life will proceed hopefully as normal. As long as there's a Starbucks in town, I'll be fine. I want to talk a little bit about this week because I've already gotten several emails and comments from folks about resumes. And yes, we are adults. We have resumes already. I have a resume. You have a resume. We've used resumes. We've thought about our resumes. And I don't want you turning in the resume that you already have. I want you to play a little with your resume. I want you to tweak your resume for the optimal goal that you have, or the job, being at the job and the way you want to be at your job. So I was writing to Dan, and a number of you have written to me, and Dan asked, well, what should I do? And I'm thinking, well, here's what I would do. And in fact, I'm going to do it this week. I'm going to look at my resume and think about how I can tweak my resume as a writer who is retiring from her full-time teaching job and would like to maybe work at some pretty swanky workshops over the summer, or apply for a low residency MFA program teaching at. So I still have the same resume. I'm still the same person. My job experience is still the same, but now I'm going to maybe highlight the work I've done at workshops or at SNHU, as opposed to focusing on the community college work. So same person, same job experience, but I might want to do something else in the next couple decades, depending on how much is left. So please don't just give me your resume from last year or another class that you worked on it, because there's always room to change it. Also, you can make it look better. You can make it look prettier. You can use a new block format. You can work the verbs. You can make sure you don't keep repeating your verbs. I think that's important. I've read a lot of resumes. I've been on 5 hiring committees at my college, and I've seen a lot of them. So that's my take on the resume assignment. The other thing I'd like to comment on is a late work and early work. I would prefer, of course, in an ideal world, that there was neither, and that everybody got work in at 11:59 on Sunday and didn't post until 12:01 a.m. on Monday for the next week, because there's an energy problem. What happens when you post late in discussion board is you don't get any comments, and you don't engage in the conversation very well. And if you post early, you're out of the conversation early, and you're sucking away energy from the week at hand. So try your best. I know life is not always easy. In fact, this week is my husband and I think we're on fight 2. He just left. Thank God. So I understand life being hard, and that's why we have a late policy, because sometimes we need it. But just give it a go and see what you can do to get your work in. Some of you have a number of you actually have some permissions to turn your work in late, and yes, of course. But in terms of energy, that's really just what I'm talking about. Posting in the week at hand keeps a lot of good interaction, idea energy flowing. And I noticed, for instance, with Rachel's work, this week was really informed by a comment in the discussion board. And that's exactly what we're aiming for here in with these classes, is that the work in the discussion board influences the assignments that are turned in. And I hope that for us all. I was thinking about skills, and I've had 2 fights already today, and I got a novel accepted. So it's been quite a day. And it's only 8:59 a.m. So this is a pet project of mine that has had a lot of, I started writing this novel in 2014. Okay. And this novel's been with me for a while. I've revised it a lot. It's a little problematic. It's historical. It's also speculative. And, I had a lot of rejection with it. And then I completely blew it up and did it again. So I've been around the block with this particular project. It's also based on Shakespeare. So yeah, not everyone wants to read about Shakespeare. So as I was reading my contract today, and the good news is my son-in-law is a lawyer, and he always looks at my contracts. But I was thinking, here's a skill that nobody mentioned as a novelist. So if you're agented, or even if you're not agented, you need to know legalese. You need to know your rights. You need to know how to decipher royalties and advances and all that stuff. So think a little outside of, I read a lot and I write a lot as a skill, because that's everybody. But what are if you want to be a novelist, you have to do a lot of things that are absolutely not related to reading and writing. You have to have a whole business savvy. You have to have legalese. You have to think about networking, just like any business person. So the skills lists were a little, if that's your job, you really think beyond just knowing how to write a character. Yeah, we have to know how to write. That is almost goes without saying. We have to be good writers. But we have to do a lot of other things. Let's say you are a novelist with a really good book, but you don't, for instance, in 2014, you gave up, as I could have easily, based on what people were saying to me. So maybe you need the skill of perseverance, or you need the skill of being able to pivot. And so we're talking psychological skills, business skills. Maybe you need to learn how to work. There's a lot of things. Now my husband's calling me, so I think I better call him back. Maybe he's going to apologize. So those are my thoughts for today, and we will talk more as the week goes on.